Breaking tonight, senators are on break after voting 51 to 49 not to go forward with witnesses. Now we don't know the way forward from here. Let's talk about it with Minnesota Democrat Senator, presidential candidate Amy Klobuchar. Senator, thanks for the time.
Well, thanks, Brett. It's great to be on again.
I want to get you to react first to the witness vote and what you think's happening moving forward.
I really thought we should have witnesses, and you could see Mitt Romney has been outspoken about this for quite a while. And I think the reason is this: the truth is going to come out, and people could vote the way they want on impeachment. I get that people are going to have different opinions, but I really felt that it was important to have the witnesses because we've always had witnesses in these trials, and 70% of the public want to see witnesses. And I really believe with the Bolton revelations that have come out, it's not going to be 5 years from now that we know what happened in those rooms. It's going to probably be 5 days from now or 5 weeks from now. And I think it is better to get testimony under oath, and then people can make decisions.
We're reporting at this hour that Democratic amendments tonight include no weekend session, Monday, Tuesday, comments on the floor, and then Wednesday afternoon, a final vote. You okay with that?
We have been pushing for witnesses, and I would assume some of the amendments, there's been some discussion since this went down now on that close 51-49 vote about what kind of amendments, to extend the timetable, to get specific witnesses, to get specific documents. So that's going to be the discussions, and I would like to do whatever it takes to get a fair trial for the people of America, and we're just awaiting word on what we work out here.
But you don't have the votes, Senator, so why go through those processes if you're, obviously trying to get to Iowa? Other people are as well. Why go through that if you know you don't have the votes?
That just can't be my motivating force, Brett. I've got to bet that the people in Iowa understand that I'm doing my job. I'm in the arena. Other people can say, I don't even want to look at what's going on there. I've got to do my job and get to the truth.
All right, I was reading this quote from Jonathan Turley, who's been quoted by the House managers, the Democrats. He says, this is why I told the Judiciary Committee that it was a monumental mistake to rush the impeachment vote on an incomplete record and hand over their case to the other House as the opposing party. This will go down as a blunder of historic measure by the House leadership. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I just don't agree, because we've already seen in the Don McGahn court case that they keep appealing, the White House, about not producing these witnesses, and they know very well that they can put all the president's men, even a few of them, up to testify, just like they've done in past impeachment hearings. So I don't buy that. I think they just don't want those witnesses to come forward. And again, eventually the truth is going to come out. And the other thing I'd say about it is every day that goes by, you now have General Kelly, President Trump's former chief of staff, saying the job is half done, that there should be witnesses. You have a number of other people, including, of course, Mr. Bolton and John Warner, the former senator from Virginia, who have come forward. These are Republicans, and said that you should have a thorough trial with witnesses. So I just view it as a consistent effort to stop these witnesses from testifying.
Let's talk about Iowa. How much do people, when you're on the ground, ask you about impeachment?
They do some, especially when things are going on like this hearing, but a lot of them are still focused on health care and on prescription drugs, on cost of college. But I do think this election, especially for moderate Republicans and independents, is more than just an economic check. I tell them all the time, especially people showing up at my events that may have voted for the president or may have stayed home. I tell them, look, you may not agree with everything that's said on the debate stage. I don't agree with everything on the debate stage. But this election is going to be a decency check and a patriotism check. And many of them believe that we should have a president that isn't putting his private interests in front of the interests of this country, and that's why they're showing up at my events.
Are you better positioned against Donald Trump than Joe Biden? Do you think this impeachment hearing has hurt Joe Biden and his ability to go head-to-head with Donald Trump?
I'm going to let the pundits decide all of that. I have a lot of respect for the vice president, but I know this about me, and that is that I am someone that's from the Midwest. It's not flyover country to me. I'm one of 2 candidates left that are from the Midwest. I'm also someone in another generation, and I'm somewhere in between the age of Mayor Pete and the Vice President. I would say that 59, my age, is the new 38. And I think all of that's a good thing, to have a fresh face, to have someone that's new representing our party at the top of the ticket.
There's one poll out, just out, that has you now in 3rd in Iowa. The average of polls nationally in Iowa and New Hampshire has you, in 4th, 5th in Iowa and New Hampshire. Where do you see it on the ground, and where do you have to finish in Iowa by your count?
That's going to be, I think, just with near the top, a group of people. We're in the top 5 in both states right now, and that's good for me. But I'm doing more than that. We've doubled our staff in both states. I just got the endorsement today of the Iowa City newspaper, as well as the Seacoast in New Hampshire, adding to the Union Leader in New Hampshire, as well as the Keene paper and the Quad Cities, New York Times. All of them make that case for me, that I'm someone that can bring our party together and bring people with me. And I think that's very, very important. And I've just got to believe, despite the fact that 3 days before the Iowa caucus, I never thought I'd be here in the Capitol. I thought I'd be out with my competitors doing my job. I just don't think that people are going to hold that against me. I think my experience passing over 100 bills by working across the aisle, more than anyone in the Senate running for president, I think that's going to matter.
I just have a minute left. You mentioned the debates. There was a ruling by the DNC that seems to open the door to Mike Bloomberg qualifying for at least one debate coming up. Are you okay with that?
Yes. I think that when you have got someone that is running all those ads all over the place, including a Super Bowl ad, I think that it is better to have that person debating, in the case of Mayor Bloomberg, than outside just spending a ton of money, because I want to make the case to America that I'd be the best one to lead the ticket. And I'd rather debate him than have him outdo me on the airwaves.
And what happens if Bernie Sanders wins Iowa, goes on to win New Hampshire? What happens to the party?
I would say that this is a long, long primary, and there are many steps along the way. I continue to believe that it's best to have someone leading our ticket for instance, in my case, I don't support Medicare for all. I read the bill. I never got on it. I'm not going to kick 149 million Americans off their current health insurance, which is what that bill says on page 8. I believe with education, I know that free college for all sounds good on a bumper sticker, but I think the best thing is to match our education system with our economy. And when you do that, you see we have over 1 million openings forecast for home health care workers, over 100,000 openings for electricians. We're not going to have a shortage of sports marketing degrees. We're going to have a shortage of plumbers. So this means investment in K through 12, 1- and 2-year degrees, and then doubling the Pell Grants for college students. I think those are plans and not pipe dreams. They're progressive, but they are practical.
Senator Klobuchar, we appreciate your time. I'm heading to Iowa tomorrow. We'll see when you get there.
We'll see if I'm there. You may beat me there, but I plan on being there at least by Sunday.
Okay. Senator, thanks for the time.
Thank you.